Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be planting some seed potatoes for a winter harvest, and if you want to too, it's still not too late. As I'm filming this, it's currently the end of July, but you can plant seed potatoes for a winter harvest anytime between June and August. If you want to grow them specifically for Christmas, it's recommended to delay the planting until the later part of August. One of the best things about growing potatoes, beyond the reward of the potatoes themselves, is that they require very little to grow. All we actually need is some containers, soil, and the seed potatoes themselves, but I'll cover each of those in more detail shortly. The only other thing I want to mention about before we start is about the risk of frost. Technically, you could plant your seed potatoes outside from around the middle of summer for an early crop, but as the year progresses, the risk of frost can be more of an issue. By planting in a container, we can move the potatoes to a frost-free location if we need to. In my case, I'll be moving the pots into the greenhouse once my tomatoes and cucumbers are finished, but this could be a frost-free conservatory or porch. The main thing is they get plenty of light. These are the seedling potatoes I'm going to be using. They're a second early variety called Morris Pear. Typically, first and second early varieties take about 12 weeks to produce the potatoes, but this is the first time growing them as a winter crop, so it's going to be interesting to see if they take any longer than normal. When it comes to selecting the seed potatoes we're going to use, there's a few things we need to consider. Firstly, we need to use a seedling potato what's been held back in cold storage. Normally, you'd plant new potatoes out in the spring, but the potatoes they produce aren't suitable to use as a seedling potato as they haven't had the period of dormancy they require. The second thing to consider is the type of potatoes we're going to use. Morris Pear are one of the recommended varieties for a winter harvest. This is because they'll happily be planted out into the summer soil without any need for chitting first. Here I've got the soil mixture I'll be planting the potatoes in. It's a basic mixture of 80% topsoil and 20% manure. I've also added a small amount of potato fertiliser to increase the potassium and phosphorus in the soil, although it does also add a little extra nitrogen. You can determine how much nitrogen, potassium and phosphorus is in a fertiliser by looking at the NPK rating on the packaging. NPK uses the periodic table symbols for each of the components. N stands for nitrogen, P stands for phosphorus and K stands for potassium. Each of these are key nutrients in a healthy plant. Nitrogen is used to boost green growth on a plant and is applied in the spring and early summer. Phosphorus is used to encourage good root growth and is applied when planting in the autumn. And potassium is used to help fruit and flowers form and produce. When it comes to containers, I love using these 30-litre pots for potatoes. The handles make it a lot easier to move around, but you can use anything, even an old compost bag would do. The main thing is the container should be at least 30 centimetres or 1 foot deep, and the only other thing you want to consider is whatever container you use will need some drainage holes. So the first thing I'm going to do is add about 10 centimetres or 4 inches roughly of soil at the bottom. Next, I'm going to inspect the potatoes before I plant them. The first thing I want to do is make sure I've got the potato the right way up, so that's so the eye's facing up. It isn't critical, it just aids it slightly. Next, I want to have a look round to make sure the potato's in a good state, and then we can plant it in. I'll just repeat that for the other couple. What I'm going to do is evenly space 3 of them around the pot, and I'm going to try and remember where I've planted these, so on the next layer I'll try and avoid them. So now I'll just fill the pot halfway up. Just being gentle with this first bit of compost what I put in, just so the potatoes don't move around too much or tip over. And now I'm just going to do the same thing again with the other 2 potatoes. So I'll just check it over, make sure it's right way up, all in good condition. So I went there, there and there. So I'm going to put this one here and just take these couple of bottom ones off. It's not, like I said, it's not strictly necessary. Now, just do the same again. Generally speaking, you would earth up around a potato, what means you would slowly build the soil up as the plants develop. But from my experience with these pots, it's not strictly necessary. But if you're going with anything deeper, I certainly would consider it. And now all I need to do is do it for the other 3 pots, so I'll come back to you in a moment. Now all of those are planted, all what's left to do is provide them with regular water and mark on the calendar when they're going to be ready. So I want to thank you for watching, and if you're interested in seeing more, please do consider subscribing.